Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to episode 29 of the Southern Conservative Podcast. My name is Ty. There was a late-breaking story on Thursday, this from the Washington Examiner. South Korean National Security Advisor outside the West Wing Thursday evening said that Pyongyang has extended an invitation to President Trump to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un, a move that would mark a major breakthrough in relations between the United States and North Korea. He told reporters, President Trump appreciated the briefing and said he would meet Kim Jong Un by May to achieve permanent denuclearization, adding that he had informed Trump that Kim said he's committed to denuclearization and that Kim pledged that North Korea will refrain from any further nuclear or missile tests. So the North Korean leader has agreed to meet with the president by May to discuss permanent denuclearization and pledged not to conduct any more nuclear or missile tests. This is incredible. You'll remember how the left-wing mainstream media characterized Trump's repeated comments about North Korea as being reckless and provoking North Korea to start a nuclear war. The two exchanged words on whose nuclear button was bigger. But the toughness put on display by Trump and the sanctions made against that country have brought Kim Jong Un to talks with President Trump. And the left is absolutely stunned over this. Look at how the president completely changed course from previous administrations. In 1994, Bill Clinton was able to come to an agreement with Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, in which North Korea would dismantle what was then the beginnings of its nuclear program in exchange for light water nuclear reactors and 500,000 tons of heavy fuel oil. But North Korea developed a uranium enrichment program that was made evident by 2002 and announced they were withdrawing from the agreement in early 2003. In 2005, North Korea announced it had developed nuclear weapons for self-defense and conducted a small nuclear test in 2006. The two Koreas, China, Russia, Japan, and the United States held discussions starting in 2003, in which an agreement was reached in 2006, in which North Korea had to disclose all its nuclear facilities and shut down any facility that could be used to make nuclear weapons. After a failed satellite launch in 2009, sanctions were placed on North Korea, and it backed out of further talks to denuclearize the Korean peninsula. So you can see how North Korea has made agreements in the past and ultimately backed down from those agreements and developed a nuclear weapons program anyway. The time and location for talks with North Korea has not been established, but the president is committed to ensuring sanctions against North Korea will remain in place until an agreement is reached. If Trump is able to denuclearize North Korea, that would be one of the greatest foreign policy achievements in the modern age. So this is a positive step, but it's a cautious one given North Korea's history. One other point to make on this. Donald Trump was able to bring North Korea to talks of denuclearization by being tough with North Korea and never backing down. In fact, when reporters asked the president last summer whether his words were too tough, he said they may not have been tough enough. The statement in which the United States will bring fire and fury to North Korea. The president said those words may not have been tough enough. This is in sharp contrast to the appeasement strategies we have seen from previous administrations. Bill Clinton agreed to allow friendly use of nuclear technology and gave fuel oil to North Korea in exchange for dismantling any facilities that could be used to make nuclear weapons. Barack Obama and John Kerry had the Iran nuclear agreement, giving that country $150 billion, as well as $1.7 billion in foreign currency in exchange for American prisoners. That was basically ransom money. Trump has taken a very different approach that hasn't cost America anything. An interview with Shannon Bream of Fox News and Attorney General Jeff Sessions aired Wednesday night, and Shannon asked the Attorney General about a request made by Congressman Bob Goodlatte and Trey Gowdy for the appointment of a second special counsel to investigate the Justice Department and FBI over FISA abuse. And this is what Jeff Sessions had to say. I have great respect for Mr. Gowdy and Chairman Goodlatte, and we're going to consider seriously their recommendations. I have appointed a person outside of Washington, many years in the Department of Justice, to look at all the allegations that the House Judiciary Committee members sent to us, and we're conducting that investigation. Also, I'm well aware that we have a responsibility to ensure the integrity of the FISA process. We're not afraid to look at that. Some think our Inspector General is not very strong, but he has almost 500 employees, most of which are lawyers and prosecutors, and they are looking at the FISA process. We must make sure it's done properly, and we're going to do that, and I'll consider their request. The key takeaway here is that Jeff Sessions, doing this work behind the scenes because nobody has reported this, has appointed a person outside of Washington with many years' experience in the Justice Department to look at the potential FISA abuses made known by Congressman Trey Gowdy and Bob Goodlatte. Could this be the start of someone who may become the second special counsel to investigate this matter? I'm hoping this is a sign that Jeff Sessions is more aware of what is going on inside the Justice Department than what reporters have been saying. There have been sources within the Justice Department that have told reporters Sessions is not fully involved in the decision-making at the Justice Department, and he leaves much of the decision-making to the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. I'm in agreement with Trey Gowdy, Bob Goodlatte, and a growing chorus of people who believe a second special counsel is necessary. I want to remind everyone to please check out the Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/Southern Conservative. That's facebook.com/Southern Conservative. There you will find links to conservative articles on stories you may not hear about in the mainstream media. Plus, if you follow the news feed, you will find links to the daily podcasts. Be sure to also subscribe to this YouTube channel. You'll be alerted when a new podcast has been posted. New podcasts are posted daily, Monday through Thursday. I want to end this podcast with a story from Sarah Carter, in which she reports that Christopher Steele knew who was paying him to conduct opposition research on Donald Trump. Here's the reporting from Sarah Carter. Former British spy Christopher Steele was informed months after accepting the job to compile a dossier on then-candidate Donald J. Trump that the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee were paying the bills, but that's not what the FBI told the secret FISA court when it sought a warrant to spy on one of Trump's campaign volunteers. This bit of explosive information was revealed in an expose on Steele by the New Yorker's Jane Mayer, but the implications for the FBI are profound. Why? Because the Bureau explicitly stated in its foreign intelligence surveillance application to the secret court that Steele was unaware of who backed Fusion GPS, the firm which hired him for the research. Steele claimed in the expose titled Christopher Steele, the man behind the Trump dossier, that he did know who was paying for his bill. Here's a portion of the article featured in the New Yorker. Under the arrangement, Orbis was a subcontractor working for Fusion GPS, a private research firm in Washington. Fusion, in turn, had been contracted by a law firm, Perkins Coie, who represented both Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and the Democratic National Committee. Several months after Steele signed the deal, he learned that, through this chain, his research was being jointly subsidized by the Clinton campaign and the DNC. In all, Steele was paid $160,000 for his work. Now here's the big question in light of this revelation. Did Steele lie to the FBI, or did the FBI choose not to disclose this information to the secret court? In a footnote on the warrant application to the court, the FBI stated that the identified U.S. person, that would be Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS, never advised source number one, Christopher Steele, as to the motivation behind the research into candidate number one, Donald Trump's, ties to Russia. The FBI submitted the FISA application on Carter Page on October 21, 2016. Steele, according to testimony provided by Fusion GPS owner Glenn Simpson, was hired in the spring of 2016. The New Yorker article also states that Steele was hired in the spring. This means that Steele would have known who was paying him by the time he met with the FBI in Italy during the summer of 2016. So again, you have to ask the question, Did Steele lie to the FBI, or did the FBI choose not to disclose this information to the FISA court? Let's assume Steele lied to the FBI about knowing who was paying him to conduct this research. So when the FBI filed its FISA application, it was telling what it believed to be the truth, that Steele was not made aware by Glenn Simpson, who was ultimately funding the dossier. There are several problems with that. Even if Steele did not know who was paying him, the top officials at the DOJ knew, according to the Nunes memo. We know that Nellie Orr was working for Fusion GPS on opposition research paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, according to the Nunes memo. Nellie Orr is the wife of Bruce Orr, who at the time was a top official within the Justice Department. So even if Steele said he did not know, which we know now that he did know, the DOJ and FBI clearly knew who funded the dossier, but that was never disclosed to the FISA court. Further, according to FBI protocols, it is up to the FBI to be sure the information supplied in FISA applications is verified and accurate. So assuming Steele lied about not knowing who was ultimately paying him, the FBI should have verified this. So if we go with this theory that Steele was lying, the FBI clearly did not verify the information, or else it would have been included in the FISA application. But it was not part of the FISA application, and neither was the FBI's knowledge who paid for the dossier. That brings us to the second theory, that the FBI purposefully chose not to disclose that Steele knew who funded the dossier. This means that the FBI was not totally truthful and withheld information from the court. If you read Adam Schiff's memo, Steele was not told of Glenn Simpson's motivations and that the FBI speculated it was to discredit Trump's campaign. But it was more than just speculation. The FBI knew who paid for it, and the FBI knew of the ties to Hillary Clinton and the DNC. But why would the FBI withhold the information? Because the judge probably would never have granted a warrant because of the appearance of one campaign digging up dirt on another campaign. And that really is what all this was. But the FBI used this unverified and salacious dossier, as described by James Comey to President-elect Trump, to purposefully spy on Carter Page and anyone he was talking to, including members of the Trump campaign, in an effort to destroy his campaign by leaking information to the media, and then, after he got elected, to destroy his presidency. So which theory do I believe? Do I believe Steele lied to the FBI? That is, he told the FBI he was not aware his dossier was being funded by the DNC and Hillary's campaign. Or do I believe that the FBI was aware that Steele knew, but failed to tell the court? Well, regardless if Steele knew or not, again, the FBI and the DOJ officials knew and failed to tell the court that they knew who funded it. The FBI and Christopher Steele were in communication in the summer of 2016 after Steele had learned who funded the dossier. I don't think Steele had a reason to lie to the FBI, because even if he didn't know, I'm sure the FBI would have disclosed that information to him before the FISA application was submitted. Remember, the FBI had authorized payment to Steele for the same information he was using to write the dossier. So there was a clear communication between Steele and the FBI. And Steele had been a long-time informant to the FBI and had a working relationship with Glenn Simpson. So I think Steele knew this information, and I think the FBI knew that Steele knew that Hillary's campaign and the DNC was the source of the funding. I think it's much more likely that the FBI purposefully did not disclose what Steele knew to the court. Heck, the FBI didn't even tell the court that they knew who funded the dossier. That would mean the FBI lied to the court, purposefully withheld information, and committed fraud. And if that turns out to be true, people at the FBI are in big trouble. Well, that's it for today, folks, and that wraps up the podcast for this week. I'll be back on Monday with another podcast.